I'm glad you're interested in the book.
Yeah, this looks beautiful. Gosh, so how did this come about? You just decided, hey, is this time for a book about, basically one of your golden works? They got a ton of praise.
It's as if Orson Welles could have done it for Citizen Kane,
I
but he,
wish. Yeah.
he didn't.
Yeah. Oh my God. One of my all-time favorites is when you're talking
And
about.
yeah, this book has these sessions have the same kind of appeal as a movie like Citizen Kane or Dark Side of the Moon.
Right, right.
And, and it's people believe in it. And I've done over, maybe 11 or 12,000 interviews over the years. And 90% of them always bring up something about the Circle album. Some of them are all about the Circle album. And I got my brother to give me his photos that he took of the sessions. He produced the album, and I got him to give me the photos about 7 years ago so I could work on a project. Part of that project is doing a video presentation on stage with the photos cut in. I talk, there's pictures behind me, and then Maybelle Carter comes on and talks and says, on that old record, I started it like this, and I started live on stage with photos going behind me. Well, 2.5 years ago, I thought, when the Ken Burns show came out, actually 3 years ago, when I did the interview for the Ken Burns show 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah, he takes
It
a
took
while
him,
to get those
took
together.
him 7 years to put it together. And in that process, I thought, well, I'm getting this video show ready, and there's going to be a book at the 50th year. And when he ran his show, ever since then, the Circle album has been in either the top 30 or the top 20 on Amazon chart, three different Amazon charts
Mm,
for 2.5 years. And it just became obvious that it's not an old dead album. It's one that still has an impact. And to people that hear it new, it's still new. It's as new as it was 50 years ago because it was all old. you know?
it's
And
amazing. Yeah.
it's a capturing of the essence of a session of what went on in the studio, the various people, and a bunch of hippies from California that weren't quite sure how it was going to go. But I'd made friends with Earl Scruggs the previous December. And when I asked him, Earl, would you want to record with Nitty Gritty Dirt Band 6 months later in June? Uh, and he said, I'd be proud to.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And a week later, I asked, Doc Watson was playing the same club in Colorado that Earl had been playing clubs, a little 250 seat, 200 seat room. And I excitedly asked Doc, I hadn't met him yet, but I said, Mr. Watson, we're doing an album with Earl Scruggs. I want you to be part of it. And we weren't doing an album, and we were. And anyway, he said yes. And I called my brother that night and told him, Doc said yes too. Earl and Doc in a week. He said, I'm going to get Merle Travis. And he called Merle Travis and got him. And Merle Travis has always wanted to meet Doc Watson, and the same way Doc wanted to meet Merle. And then talking with Earl, other people came into the existence. He got us a fiddle player and bass player, and my brother and I asked him if he'd get Jimmy Martin. Can you get Jimmy Martin interested? And anyway, and Bill took all the photos, except there's one of him that I took, but that's not. Bill took all the photos, and he took photos of the early Dirt Band too, in '66 when the band started, and leading up to the Circle album. You have a copy of the book?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so you see those '60s pictures that look like some kind of,
Yeah, that's West Coast hippie vibe. Yeah, it's just and in the early days of being, hippie on the West Coast, it's just
yeah.
really incredible stuff. Yeah, it's good to
And
have a brother who's photographing everything.
yeah, he was managing us at the time, and he produced the Uncle Charlie album, and that
Hmm.
had Mr. Bojangles on it, and that's the one that got Gary Scruggs interested in the band, thinking, I got to play this record for Daddy. And it also had one of Daddy's, sorry, one of Daddy's songs on it, and Randy Lynn Rag. And Earl heard that and said, well, I asked him when he came to meet us a couple months after he heard that, we were in Nashville doing our first Nashville concert. Mr. Scruggs, it's awful nice of you to come do the show. Why'd you come? He goes, well, I wanted to meet the boy who played Randy Lynn Rag the way I intend to. And
Nice. What a compliment.
okay, thank you.
Mm,
I,
yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to repeat that, Earl. Well, you go right ahead. And it was quite a compliment. Yes.
Yeah, taking the Jerry Jeff Walker song and just making that your own. That's just very iconic and woven into the fabric of Americana sound. That must feel so great to be so part of history like that.
It's a strange thing because we were just a working band trying to get on the radio. And that song was on the radio for 38 weeks. I mean, on the charts.
Oh yeah. It's
Still,
incredible
you can
run.
still hear it on the radio every now and then, but
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it's like I got an email just a week or two ago from a guy that said, I was coming home from Vietnam and I heard Mr. Bojangles and it made me feel like I wanted to be home.
Yeah. It's like
And
comfort food, right?
I'd heard that so many times from Vietnam veterans. They either heard it when they were over there or they heard it when they were coming back and then I heard it the same kind of comment from non-veterans, just people that said that was a real good, because it came out at a time when Hendrix and the Beatles and everything else was happening. It was a big
Yeah.
relief kind of song, and got played on pop radio.
Yeah, and you inspired so many. Vince Gill still raves about the record. It's just you got generations that it's the gift that keeps on giving, and that's why digital music these days, people poo-poo that and everything, but it then gets a new set of legs once people discover it on something like Amazon Music, and then they download, and it just becomes a new thing again. It's really, really nice. Yeah, beautiful book and available everywhere. I suppose we can get it. Goes through the whole chronicle of how this classic came together.
The lyrics were all dated. They were all older songs. I mean, Keep on the Sunny Side was first recorded in 1927. I think that's when Maybelle did it in Bristol, Tennessee, with the non-electric process, sitting in front of a big megaphone,
Mm,
and cutting it right to a disc. And here we were in 27, 37, 47, 57, 67, 71. Only 43 years later, but it seemed like a century, recording it with her again. And yeah, there were no new lyric songs, but they had to be sung like they were new lyrics. When Jimmy
right.
Evans did Hank Williams' Lost Highway, this sounds like he wrote it. He really nailed it. And when Jeff sang You Are My Flower, he did a really good job on that with Gary Scruggs singing harmony. And the music was timeless. So it just kind of showed that there's some good timeless ones to pick from the past. And they were picked. Roy Acuff did a couple of his favorites. Doc did. Everybody did their favorites.
Okay.
And they did a song that my brother and I would ask them to do. We asked Jimmy Martin to do Grand Ole Opry song. He said, well, I don't know, but Bill, a lot of those people are dead. you know. And
Yeah.
yes, Mr. Martin, yes, Jimmy, but that's honoring them. And Roy Acuff, he had recorded Precious Jewel many times and Lost Highway. But Lost Highway was a hit for him. It went to
Yeah.
with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. It went to number 15, I think, on the country chart. First hit he'd had in 20 years.
Yeah, it's quite a thing to pull off in the early 70s to really do that. Because, like you were saying, what you were competing with, you were just, Hendrix had just happened, Beatles had already happened, and it's an interesting time in music. Was
And in the
years
country.
ago. Yeah, yeah,
We went in the studio and Martin Luther King was still freshly dead, and Bobby
yeah,
Kennedy, and the churches were burning, the marches were happening, and the Vietnam War was raging.
yeah. What an interesting time. In 71, a lot of great albums came out. I was listening to some interviewers who were just saying that's a pivotal year where a lot of great stuff happened.
It was. We needed the relief.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, you spent some time at Disneyland? Did you work in their magic shop?
I didn't work, but I worked. Yeah, I would do an average of 10 or 12-hour days, sometimes 15. One
Uh,
week I put in 92 hours. That was a great
wow.
week, but it was fun.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's not a job, right?
No, that's made me realize that I didn't want to work for a living. And when music came along, well, when I was 16 years old, Steve Martin and I were both trying to get a job at the magic shop. And we got the job on the same day,
Mm,
celebrated by having lunch in Tomorrowland. Oh boy, tuna sandwich. It was
nice,
really
yeah.
good. Chicken of the sea tuna.
He has
And
a great autobiography. I really love that.
oh, Steve,
Hmm.
yeah, Born Standing Up is a
I
really good
love it.
book. He had me proofread it before we printed it. It
Nice.
was like, well, he had to get some things right, dates and
Sure.
times, and he'd gone through a lot. And I have an autobiography called The Life I've Picked that has gotten not nearly the sales as Steve Martin's, but
Eh,
it gets the same respect. So
sure.
I'm proud of that. The people that have got it are very happy with it. But the life I've picked tells the life I've picked. It's starting at 17 and a half when I started playing the banjo. A year and a half after I started the magic shop job, the banjo came into our lives. I say Steve and me, and I ended up showing him a lot of stuff because he just couldn't figure it out. And he became a natural. And I produced his album uh, in 2010, The Crow. The Crow, we won a Grammy with it too, the best bluegrass
Nice.
album.
Yeah.
He didn't think that album would do anything. And I said, Steve, it's really good, you know. Anyway, and Steve was at these sessions. He came. My brother was managing him and produced his records and movies. And but this is before there was a Steve Martin. You know, before there was anybody knew of him. Steve, you ought to come to Nashville. I can record you with Vassar Clements and Junior Husky when the
Mm.
dirt band sessions are done. And he did. And he hung out. And I got to introduce him to Earl Scruggs. And that was a big day for Steve because Earl was a huge influence on both of us. And there's a picture in this book of him and Earl sitting in a hotel room. And Steve's one of the contributing writers to the book, Will the Circle Be Unbroken at 50 years old?
Hmm.
And I had several people write contributing articles. Rodney Dillard, one, because, well, without Rodney Dillard, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, one thing leads to another, especially
Yeah.
in the arts.
He's the one that got me interested in music and performing, not just playing the music, but performing it, for trying to be funny, you know, whatever. And like that. and all the Dirt Band guys, they each wrote a few pages, which is really interesting because each person has a different perspective of
Yeah.
what was going on. Gary Scruggs' article was really well written, and Marty Stewart. Marty Stewart was very young. He was like 12 years old when this album was being done, but it affected his career, and the Dirt Band did too. And I thought that he should write something because he's a historian and a good writer. And I wrote like 3/4 of the book, and these other people contributed another significant portion.
Beautiful. Yeah. What was it like in Nashville in those days? Boy, it's really changed. It's just become so huge and cosmopolitan. A lot of great artists had moved there, and it's just, but way, 50 years ago, I'm sure that vibe was way different.
Well, it was like the Dirt Band was a pop rock band. That's why Bill Monroe didn't participate, because he didn't listen to anybody's music but his own, and he knew that, well, they're on those pop charts. They're on the same record charts with the Beatles and Aretha Franklin, and they're probably going to put electric guitars and drums on my music. We weren't, but we didn't have time to explain because he just, no, I think I'll pass. Now, Mr. Monroe, 6 or 7 years later, came up to me at a festival and said, "Hey, John, you ever do another one of them Circle albums? Give me a call." So, yes, sir, Bill. Yeah, I missed the boat on that one, but that was okay. We had Jimmy Martin.
Yeah, you did quite well. Yeah, very, very well. Yeah. So how did you get to meet Steve Martin? Do you remember the first time you got to meet him in high school?
It wasn't in high school. It was in Disneyland.
Oh, over Disneyland, but during the high school period.
Yeah, he was transferring high schools, and at the end of the junior year, it was a summer between. Well, it was spring of the junior year. We were both hanging out in Disneyland trying to get the job. He was already working there at another job, and it wasn't meeting the Steve Martin. It was meeting a guy, you know.
Yeah.
And and uh, and I wasn't any. I didn't play music yet or anything, and I was just a geek. I was trying to be a nerd, a magic nerd, and we got our jobs in the magic shop doing tricks all day long and telling stupid jokes. Stupid jokes like, you know, ladies and gentlemen, the world's smartest mathematical dog. Rover plus 2 plus 2. Roof, 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 roof. Come on, boy, one more.
I could see that. Yeah, he has the
One
roots.
more.
Yeah. And he mixed comedy and music, and just like that's all
You
history.
were mixing comedy to get people to watch the magic
Yeah.
and
Right.
trying to fool them. You want a sack or a bag with that? I don't know. Well, a sack has the opening on the bottom and it'll fall out. Let me get you a bag, and you put it in the top. Anyway, it's just tough.
Nice.
On and on banter. But
Yeah.
Steve was really. We had a great time then. We got into bluegrass and would go to Frontierland during our breaks to see various groups play. And a couple years later, I took a lesson from one of the banjo players, the banjo player that I'd met, David Lindley, who ended up playing with Jackson Browne for years.
Mm.
He was playing great banjo back then, and I took one lesson from him, and that was really fun. And Chris Darrow, who ended up in the Dirt Band, what was it? 5 years later, he was and I ended up. It was it was a jumble. It was a mess. Just
Sure.
people plowing along, sometimes going to the beach, sometimes going to a club in Hollywood, sometimes going to the club in Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, and sometimes playing with somebody. And, it was a wonderful time.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's in California. Beach Boys were exploding. Do you remember the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour? That
Yeah,
didn't
sure.
last long, but it had a little bit of that vibe in there. I mean, such a renegade, and so many people came out of that,
Yeah,
including
Steve was a writer for that.
yeah, yeah.
Steve and I had lunch at Farmers Market right next to Television City in Hollywood. Live from Television City, and he told me he was writing. He was writing for the Campbell Show then, Glenn Campbell, after Smothers. It was either Campbell or Cher. He wrote for both of them, but
Probably, yeah.
he said, "I'm going to quit being a writer and start doing my solo act,
Yeah.
but I only have 8 minutes of material." I says, "You'll find it. I think you'll do fine. Yeah, it's a good idea." And yeah,
Yeah, totally
Sonny and
groundbreaking
Cher,
show.
Sonny and Cher, Glenn Campbell,
Oh yeah.
uh, Smothers, and one other show were all done in the same building on Third and Fairfax, like or something. But anyway, and moving along, the Dirt Band formed in '66. We broke up in '68.
Mm.
We got back together in '69 and made our fifth album, Uncle Charlie and His Dog Teddy, that led to the Circle album. And that was quite a tumultuous time.
Yeah. What an output just to put the 5 albums out that quickly. It's like I don't know if anybody works that much and that hard and quickly like that these days.
And the Circle album, it was recorded in 5 days, 36 tracks,
Wow.
36 songs. And part of the book, did you get the book with the pictures?
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that one session log, and the song there's 10 songs in that one day, a day that started at 10 in the morning and finished at
Yeah.
midnight.
Oh, the
You know,
long, but yeah. And
yeah.
that isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's working very hard. But you can do that when you're young, you know. It's like,
Well,
yeah.
it was hard to quit.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's a labor of love, you're so into it. You're just gonna keep going on. That's a lot of songs. Yeah. Very well.
And
Rolling Stone really praised it. That's
I'm
up there.
very glad that, very pleased that people have told me this book puts me in the studio. It makes me feel like I'm in the studio watching the sessions go on. I feel like I'm there. I always felt like I was there. Way the album is recorded just two tracks
Mhm.
and live takes and all that. But I, the 145 pictures in the book, about 45 of them hadn't been seen before, and they'd never been explained. And so there's a story with each
Right.
photo that kind of takes you to the background of what's going on or what that person was like. Or you'll find out that Bashful Brother Oswald didn't know how to read or write, which is a shock to me. But I think people should know that you can play beautiful music and not know how to read or write. And that it was it was wonderful. Vassar Clements couldn't read music, couldn't read a chord chart.
A lot of musicians don't. It's not required. Probably helps, but yeah, most I speak with don't have that.
Yeah. Steve Vai told me that when he first met Frank Zappa, Frank put a piece of sheet music in front of him and said, "Here, play this." And Steve played it. He was 17 years old.
Oh, neat.
He'd been reading music since he was like 7, you know. And Frank said, "You're hired."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like you're valuable. I'm taking. No, I know you. I wouldn't have known that about Steve Vai. Not at all. That's
Yeah,
really amazing. Yeah.
he's an incredible musician.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's an interesting thing that he can read music flawlessly, and Vassar couldn't read a note. I can't read a note. I put a chord chart in front of Vassar once, and he looked at it and turned it upside down and went, that looks better.
Yeah.
Played with his
Seriously, they
eyes
got
shut
it in
all
the
the
air.
time.
They got the earworm. They could just be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you got some great people that you've come across with over the years. Jeff Hanna and people like that. Les Thompson. Yeah, it's just
Well,
incredible talent.
we were lucky. We were lucky to find that we found each other, and we were lucky that stuck together long enough to do a few things, and a few of them stuck. A few of them were considered worthy. Let's just put it this way: we were well edited.
Yeah, that
So
helps. Editing is, yeah, which is a craft I do. Yeah.
if you heard all the outtakes, but that's true with a lot of people.
Oh,
Hearing the
absolutely.
outtakes, you go, how'd they ever get work? But it was an interesting process that along the years of the Dirt Band, there had been, well, my 50 years there were hits about every 3 years until the 80s, and we had, I think, 18 country hits. Our first number one was 1981 or so, 1982. 17 years, let's see, 76. Yeah, 17 years to get our first number one record, Long Hard Road
Yeah.
by Rodney Crowell.
Talk about paying your dues. Yeah.
And Dance Little Jean, High Horse, a bunch of modern day romance, a bunch of country hits happened. And then Fishing in the Dark, and that was a whole new, everything had been fallow for a few years, and that came out. It was like the third or fourth time the band had a career. And it's been a very fortunate thing. You know, the records, the Dirt Band records, some of them have been on, we have 4 or 5 records on 3 different Amazon charts right now. Well, on one chart, there's 4 in the top 100. I mean, one is the Circle album's like number 12, another one is 21, another one's 35, another one's 82. But they move around. It's like, wow, this is like weird.
It's rediscovering it. So it's probably close to the same feeling like when you first heard yourself on the radio. It's on terrestrial radio, because there's so many formats these days. But back in the day, that had to be that first feeling. It's like, yeah, you probably with the transistor waiting for it, and it's like, it's got to be an incredible feeling.
It's still there. It's whenever I turn on a radio and there's a piece of music on there that I'm either responsible for, or maybe just playing a background part for, or just picking on, or maybe it was a song I didn't even play on, but it only had 3 of the Dirt Band guys on it because we used other musicians sometimes. There weren't many of those, but like Long Hard Road, I played guitar, banjo, and mandolin. So that was really fun. You know, Dance Little Jean, guitar and banjo, and Bojangles, mandolin, and anyway, so it's really fun to think that some of the work left an impression.
Yeah, very much part of it.
And one of the impressions that seems to being left now is the Circle Be Unbroken album. So I had to get this book done, The Making of a Landmark Album, The Circle at 50. It didn't want it to be 51st year. The Circle Be Unbroken, the 51st year. It didn't seem like
not catchy.
The 49th year, it doesn't quite have the same.
Yeah.
50 years, it just,
Yeah, you never would have thought,
it's half a century. That's a long time ago. That'd be like when Bojangles was a hit. That would be like having Louis Armstrong, and or one of those people from their 1920s record.
Yeah.
But that music lasted 15 to 30 years, had an audience, but there's something strange about the circle songs is they seem to keep getting attention. You can hear them new and you go, that's nice. You
Yeah.
know, and I don't know, maybe it's just me.
No, I think it's incredibly true. It's timeless. Once you are able to write something and perform, it becomes part of that fabric, and it's there forever. And it's nice to have formats that revive all of this, and people are interested. That's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, we're lucky that part of what we give has been accepted that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, going way back, did you book Bob Dylan in your high school? Is that something that
no, I didn't book him in my high school. I booked him in a high school along
in
with
your
the guy.
area?
I had, let's see, I was 19 years old, and the guy that managed the club, the Golden Bear, which is one of the hottest clubs in Southern California at the time, and I was 19 hanging out there. He said, "Hey, can you get me $2,500? You want to partner with me? I want to book this guy named Bob Dylan." And I'd heard his name, and yeah, oh yeah, he's doing pretty good now, isn't he? Well, yeah, his new album, Freewheelin', is just out and it's starting to get a lot of people liking it. Where are you doing it? At Wilson High School. So I had to go borrow the money from my dad. I mean, my father, who knew nothing about the current music, believed I was passionate enough that one, I would pay it back. Two,
Yeah,
it might work.
I wouldn't believe it if somebody would pay me back. Yeah.
I paid him back 7 weeks later because it sold out. And I think I was 18. Anyway, it was really fun.
Nice. Yeah, I bet what a major accomplishment to get that and to pull it off, and somebody who travels acoustically and is getting the attention. It's really just an incredible life. I mean, yeah, you're
I remember
yeah,
all I got out of it was $2,500. I got doubled my money and a front row seat in the
yeah.
orchestra pit. And I could see Bob Dylan getting out of the limo through the dressing room, through the entry of the stage door. It was a high school. And I could
Wow.
see him. He had his heart brack on and his guitar on. He gets out of the limo, walks up to the stage. He plays for 75 minutes and walks off and gets in the car and it's gone.
Yeah, no problem.
And I thought, that's a good job to have, being that guy.
Yeah.
And that made me want to be in a group. One of the things. That and hearing Chris Hillman. Chris Hillman was in a group called the Scottsville Squirrel Barkers with another guy named Bernie Ledden. Bernie played the banjo, Chris played the mandolin.
Bernie.
Chris Hillman with the Birds playing bass on Turn, Turn, Turn. And I'm going to college, and I go, if a guy in the Scottsville Squirrel Barkers can get on the radio, maybe I can. So
Yeah, if they could do it, why not? Yeah. It's incredible. Bernie went on to the Eagles, just totally legendary. And Roger McGuinn I met years ago under a bridge. He was playing under a bridge at a festival. Very nice. In Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, that's a great festival. The
Riverbend. Riverfest. Yeah.
Fest. I played that one.
Saw him there, and Glenn Fry and Dr. John, which was really nice.
Oh,
yeah, beautiful festival. Yeah, yeah. Well, good. So, are you going and touring around? You're touring for this book, I would imagine, but are you touring musically?
I'm working at it, and doing only about 5 dates a month. But right now, I'm in Italy, taking a month off because I've just been working on writing and organizing things the last few months quite ardently, and it's just a good time to be in Italy. But
Yeah.
this is the 5th interview I've done about the book in the week that I've been here, so I'm doing both, I guess. But yes, I have dates coming up. And when do you can cut this out? When does this show? Is it in a week or two, or when does it run?
I'm gonna try to get this about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, in November, I'm going to be playing at Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago and in Minneapolis at a place called the Dakota, which is really nice. And in Milwaukee, Shank Auditorium. I think that's November 3rd.
Okay. So we'll
And
try to get this out
October
for November.
14th, I'm doing a real special show in Springfield, Missouri. That should be really fun. It's a meet and greet and a concert and several things.
Oh, cool.
It's about this book. I'm showing the footage and that I've cut together and playing the music, and that'll be fun. But yeah, I've got about 8 dates booked between now and the end of first week of November, starting when I get back. And I've got to go to, oh, this is really, I got to go to the IBMA, the International Bluegrass Music Association, because they're giving an award to the Circle album for its contribution to the overall history of the music.
Uh,
That's September 27th. And then the 29th, the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville is doing a country music from California exhibit. And I'm one of the people that are exhibiting, I guess.
oh, cool.
Bernie will be there, and
Nice.
Jeff from the Dirt Band, and I think Chris Hillman from the Birds, and a bunch of people. That they're doing a 3-year exhibit at the CMA, and that'll be fun.
Oh, that's really awesome. Yeah, gosh, the accolades just keep piling up, but that's how it is when you have been in the business for as long as you have, more than half century.
Well, I'm just glad that there's somebody who cares. But
Yeah.
well, yeah.
They're keeping
Where
the music
where are you
alive.
located? Where are you located?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of good people come through here as well. That's just there's a lot of interest in that kind of music too, as well, and a lot of the venues in this area. So yeah, a guy by the name of John McEuen has come up. Yeah, yeah,
He's great.
had him a few times. Kamikaze writing is what his style is. He's just got incredible volume.
Yeah. It's I'm playing Calhoun, Georgia. I can't remember the date, but that's going to be fun. That's the place where the Mountain Whippoorwill poem was created.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the story. Up in the mountains, it's lonesome all the time. It's a story that I've done from stage a lot in the 70s and 80s with the banjo and fiddle, and they want me to come there and do it.
Yeah, North Georgia.
And yeah, anyway, so yeah, some dates I'm remembering now are, when is that? That's in October too, I think.
Okay.
But
we'll hold off for this for like a fall release, so I could tell everybody, hey, you're going to be in these places. Sounds like you got a busy autumn coming up.
yeah, it's always things going on. Seems like, fortunately, September's good. October, anyway.
Good.
And the book is burning up the charts. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
My brother, who shot all the photos and produced the band, who
beautiful photos, logbooks. Yeah.
He passed away a couple of years ago, and gave me these photos with the hopes that it would work.
Yeah. It's amazing he gave you that. That's great.
He was kind of a curmudgeon or something in some ways, you know. But Bill, I think people should see these and know about his. Do what you want with them. I know it's good. You know?
You just go do that. But somebody who does managing and is doing photography and all that, those kind of guys do kind of be a bit of that way too.
Yeah. Anyway.
Will the Circle be Unbroken, available everywhere? I can go into the Barnes and Noble everywhere and get it wherever you get books. And
if you want an autographed one, you go to Landmark Booksellers Landmark Booksellers in Franklin, Tennessee.
Hmm.
That's Franklin, Tennessee. It's a local store. I moved to the Franklin area with my wife last year, and getting ready.
Right
Done the
on.
Opry a few times, and getting ready for the release of this book. And yeah, September 29th or so, Billboard's putting out an article about it. And anyway, Landmark Booksellers, they have a few left that I've signed. I'm going to have to get home and sign some more, I think. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Franklin, Tennessee. Yeah, there was a ton of talent out there. A woman by the name of Crystal Taliaferro
Oh, yeah.
worked with John Mellencamp, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, very, very talented. Good people out there. Well, best wishes for everything. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Okay. Thank you for letting the word get spread here.
Absolutely. Take care. Best wishes.